The U.S. military is prepared to potentially strike Iran as early as this Saturday, although President Trump has not yet made a final decision. The threat of strikes comes as the Pentagon sends multiple warships to the region. The president wants Iran to dismantle its nuclear program. Earlier today, he offered a timeline for what comes next.
It's proven to be, over the years, not easy to make a meaningful deal with Iran. We have to make a meaningful deal. Otherwise, bad things happen. So now we may have to take it a step further, or we may not. Maybe we're going to make a deal. You're going to be finding out over the next probably 10 days.
CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe joins us now. What factors does the president consider when it comes to potentially striking Iran?
Well, Lindsay, whether or not Iran continues to have conversations with the United States, either directly or indirectly, as they have in recent days, the most recent round of talks being Tuesday, that involved some top experts from the International Atomic Energy Agency, which was a sign of a willingness to get a little more serious and detailed about it. But if for some reason over the next 10, later in the day today, the president said 15 days, if he doesn't see progress in that outreach, then the preparations are being made for potential strikes, as you said, as early as Saturday. But the conversations remain fluid as the president weighs both the military and domestic political consequences of striking or holding back, as well as the international geopolitical consequences of doing so. Were there to be a strike, it could be potentially on Iran's ballistic missile program, which is of grave concern to Israel. The prime minister has shown the president in recent weeks evidence of a growing ballistic missile program, possibly also striking again at nuclear program-related sites or facilities in the country, even though they were struck, and the president says obliterated last summer. If it's more ambitious than that, it's unclear what exactly it would be and what kind of military assets it might involve.
How much progress has been made in talks, and what kind of progress does the president need to see before he initiates a strike?
He's been a little vague about it, but obviously he would love some kind of, or he signaled, the administration has signaled, and frankly other allies have signaled that essentially anything short of completely dropping its nuclear ambitions may not be enough. And that's certainly what Israel, for example, has pressured the administration into getting, and that anything short of that would be unacceptable to them. But, you know, it'll depend on what ultimately they may be willing to concede or to negotiate away, and whether in that moment the president believes that's enough. But there is sensitivity, first and foremost, to whether or not it's ever able to restart that nuclear program that, again, the president spent so much time, especially last year, claiming had been completely destroyed and set back, or whether there's graver concern about allowing the current regime to continue after the reports and the evidence of mass killings of protesters and other violence across that country in recent weeks. So, you know, often in these cases, Lindsay, as you know, he keeps it a little vague publicly as they try to get something behind the scenes. And if that fails, Venezuela being the most recent example, then the U.S. military gets involved.
Okay, I have another really quick follow-up, then the control room's going to kill me. But are you seeing any similarities between this moment and that moment, between the build-up,
Yes.
what the president is saying and not saying?
Yeah, because that same carrier group, the USS Gerald Ford, is now being moved back towards Iran, joining about 11 other carriers and vessels, that's the word I was looking for, vessels that are in the Mediterranean. The USS Abraham Lincoln and about 11 others are there. Usually there's about 30 to 40,000 U.S. personnel, military personnel in the region. Most of them are believed to still be there, though there's been some movement of people out of the region out of concern. But this kind of a buildup that had been dropped back to deal with Venezuela and is now being put back in place as the diplomacy continues is certainly designed to at least be a publicly facing threat to the Iranian regime, a reminder of what could come should the talks fail.
Ed O'Keefe, appreciate you. Thank you.